Hifiman is a brand I have mostly spoken about in a negative context on this channel historically, primarily due to the resonating nature of the mid-range of their planar magnetic headphones. And as you can see in this graph of a Hifiman headphone, the mid-range goes up and down in this jagged sawtooth profile, and it makes it sound unclear and low resolution. But in the audiophile black pill hierarchy of headphone driver types, generally, dynamic driver is considered the lowest end. Then in the middle, there's planar magnetic headphones. And at the highest end of the black pill audiophile nomenclature, we have electrostatic headphones. I believe I've found headphones that are probably the best sounding in the world, and they cost less than $1,000. Now, I have known about this headphone, the Hifiman J2, for a very long time, but I've previously overlooked it due to the bass roll-off, which I assumed was a design limitation of the headphones. However, on Unheard Labs Squiglink, he's measured the headphones with different pads, such as the Dekoni Elite Velour pads, and as we can see, the bass extension is significantly improved. And I do wonder, with the 10 dB plus bass boost that's required to get this headphone to comply with the PEC-DB diamond target at 20 Hz, and with the plus 7 dB gain of the low frequency effects channel from a surround mix down mix to stereo, would the electrostatic diaphragm get stuck to the stators? Because apparently for the Jade 2, the sensitivity is pretty similar to traditional Stax headphones without that big of a gap between the stators and the diaphragm. In a planar magnetic headphone, you'll have magnets on either one side or both sides of the diaphragm, which is what moves back and forth, and there will be conductive metal traces on the diaphragm, which is the part that moves back and forth to respond to the magnets. But on an electrostatic diaphragm, you don't have any such material on the diaphragm itself, and it essentially just moves with electrical current designated by the stators. Having a smaller gap between the stators and the diaphragm allows for more control of the diaphragm and presumably a smoother frequency response or magnitude response, but this results in a limit for max sound pressure level where higher diaphragm excursion will result in the diaphragm getting stuck to the stator, and then you would have to disconnect the headphone from the energizer to reset the diaphragm. And I'm not sure where that limit is with the J2, and it's really kind of tricky and annoying to really figure this stuff out because there's not really much publicly available information from people really pushing these headphones to their limits. But as a starting guide for what amplifier setup you really need to drive an electrostatic headphone properly, and hopefully it does not result in the diaphragm getting stuck to the stator, the Apollon 1ET6525SA ST amplifier with the Purify stereo amplifier modules is likely the best amplifier in the world currently. It outputs 158 watts into 8 ohms, which is very plentiful. But then you also need two of these $500 or so Lundahl LL9202AM transformer modules to convert the speaker amplifier power to high voltage output to be delivered to the headphones, such that the transformers do not saturate or distort under high sound pressure level conditions for low frequencies. And there's no pre-existing solution which does all of these things, so you would have to DIY the amplifier to get let's say over 2000 volts down to the lowest frequencies. I previously talked about the Carbon 2 being very good, at least with Odyssey's reference material in their demo booth, but there still is a measurable 6 kilohertz or so peak. But the Hifiman J2 with the Dekoni Elite Velour pads does not have any such treble resonances. It's extremely smooth in the mid-range, and the bass extension with the Dekoni Elite pads is really good, and I've not seen any electrostatic headphone measure anywhere close to as linear in the high frequencies as the Hifiman J2. And also, the Hifiman Mini Shangri-La is the exact same thing as the J2. They just changed the headphone design to make it cheaper or something. But Despite having a larger diaphragm than like the Odyssey LCD5 or even many planar magnetic headphones, the J2 is able to be much lower in weight than the planar magnetic headphones since there are no magnets in the headphone. So the Hifiman Mini Shangri-La actually only weighs only 320 grams, which is very light for the headphone size. And because the internal pad circumference is so high with these headphones, the Mini Shangri-La or the J2, the soundstage and bass impact are going to be phenomenal, and you're basically getting the best technical performance possible, assuming that the diaphragm does not get stuck to the stators in terms of soundstage and impact and resolution, which would be more due to the smooth magnitude frequency response. And the headphones themselves are only like $900, but the main cost then becomes the amplifier setup, where you need like the $1,000 amplifier, and then you need the $1,000 total transformer modules, and then you need to wire all of these things together, and it really becomes a big pain. But if you are willing to put in the effort and hope that the diaphragms do not get stuck to the stators, the Hifiman J2 or Mini Shangri-La with equalization to the PEC-dB diamond target curve and usage of a 9.1.6 downmix renderer like what I have created should get you endgame sound. So yeah, $900, under $900 is basically endgame for the headphone system itself, but you'll need to spend at least another $2,000 or so to power these headphones properly.